first stop of the day. There's Rhug estate. It's farm shop come service station on the A5 here. We've come over that hill, Melin-y-Wig. It's not often I start a video 80, 70, 80k into the ride. Let's see. 77k into the ride, and the reason for that is just to save battery on everything, because we're doing hopefully 240k today. Just stopped for a quick coffee and a croissant. The burgers and stuff here are great. They've got their own herd of bison, as you can see from this big boy here. But we don't really have time for that. We'll stop in Bala for proper food. This is just a quick toilet and fuel up stop. So yeah, more footage from the road. Sometime earlier. So this is filmed before I got to Rhug. This is the first, I don't know actually, it's not the first hill of the day. Don't know why I chose to turn my camera on here, but this is a climb out of ridden over to Clocaenog. So this is going up Mynydd, which I've filmed a lot of recently. And behind me and my dad there, you can see a rather moody looking set of Clwydian hills. So I live the far side of them from where we are now. It looked like a really nice morning at this point. Look at that nice long shadow of my dad showing that low morning sun. The clouds looked threatening in a few places, but we thought, that'll pass. You know, it's been forecast to be a really nice day. All will be well. And the reason we came out to do this route wasn't really to ride any of these roads. They're lovely and you know, it's a nice bike ride always, but really we were trying to do a recce of the rides in Shropshire, of the roads in Shropshire, so you'll see them a bit later. Just descending now a climb called Melin-y-Wig, which means something like windmill in Welsh. It's got this lovely hairpin on it, and coming the other way, it's an absolutely cracking climb. One Nick Brownbill is number 2 on the official climbs leaderboard on Strava, or I was. I don't know if I've still held that, but that was last year when I was in really good shape. Came and nearly took the com, but didn't quite take the com. It's a fun one to descend as well when you're expecting that hairpin, but in the past, Dad and I have done it not expecting that hairpin, and it does catch you out. It's a lovely bit of the world down here, this Melin-y-Wig valley. There'd been a few squirrels that wanted to die on this ride. There was a squirrel that really wanted to make sure I squashed it no matter what I did. Great descent. Still, here we go down into the village of Melin-y-Wig at the bottom. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Didn't go particularly hard on any of these climbs at the beginning because it was very much pacing ourselves for a long day in the saddle. So everything was fairly steady. But similarly, trying to get as much speed as I could on the descents. You know, they make a big difference on a long ride, how fast you're willing to go on descents and flats to build up time. Now, a few K further down the road, this is the village of Bala, which is a very nice little village. If anyone's interested in Welsh etymology, that place name means the meeting place of Gwerfyl the Red, who was probably a Celtic tribal leader. Yeah, there's Nick's boring fact, first boring fact of the day. Here we go climbing out of Bala, which is a surprisingly severe climb. I hope you can see quite how severe it is, but you do a lot of 20% on here. It's not super long. I think it's less than a kilometre, or maybe it's a kilometre long, but you do almost 200 metres of elevation. On the scale of things we do on this ride, it is barely a blip on Strava, but it does take some real effort to get over. Hopefully that rear view camera of me getting a bit of distance to my dad will show how steep it is and a nice sort of view over the village as you come out of it. I've never done a full gas effort up here, and I would like to, but it's at that funny distance from home where really to do it I'm looking at doing a 100-mile plus ride, and there's not many nice loops you can do. Like, I can come out this way, but then I have to come back up a fairly boring road, and it's a bit like, well, is it worth it? You know, it's a nice climb, but is it worth doing a full 6-hour ride, half of which is going to be fairly dull in order to do? And actually watching this back, I think I've talked myself into it. Yes, it is. Stop making excuses, Nick. Get out there and go and do it. So a nice right turn here, and it's deceptive because the climb carries on for quite a long time after this turn where you think you may have got to the top, but you have not. And this there is my dad shouting, "Does the climb carry on after the turn?"
Yeah,
and I say,
it does.
yes. Yes, it does.
Meters.
Keep going, mate. So it's proper steep, it's a proper Nick Brownbill climb, it's really fun in that respect. I always find this funny that you see the Betters Gwerfel Goch sign and then you see the road sign there that says Betters Gwerfel Goch left. But on the road sign they abbreviate it because it's too long a name, and I think you probably just didn't need the sign at all. If you turn your head left you'll see that you're in the village. Morrison's van behind my dad there, he was very sound.
No, it is not.
He was very patient. I pulled in for him and he was very appreciative. So here's the view over the hills behind us, and generally I think that's a really nice bit of road to start the day on. This descent now goes down to Rhug where I filmed, and coming the other way I have the KOM on this climb, so that's a claim to fame for me. I don't have many good KOMs. I've got the, you know, the cheeky ones where no one's really gone full gas, but that's a proper long climb, and yeah, I got the KOM, so I'm quite happy with it. This descent now carries on, basically, like I say, down to Rhug, down to the A5. And when you pass Rhug, as we have now in this next clip, one, it started to rain, but two, the landscape becomes very different. We ride along a river valley. So this is a cracking bridge now, absolutely fantastic bridge, over the River Dee, which is the river near me, but this is way upstream. And then basically we ride along the River Dee valley. Of course, I've put in footage of this bridge backwards and forwards. Guys, if I hadn't stressed enough, great bridge, absolutely great bridge. This is a place called Cynwyd. In case you want to go and look at this bridge, Cynwyd Bridge. Whew, worth it. So yeah, we're going to meander along the Dee Valley now, which, for being in Snowdonia, is surprisingly flat. It's probably not in Snowdonia, to be honest, so maybe that's why it's surprisingly flat. I think it just bobbles along the edge of Snowdonia. But it's a nice road in that it's what we'd call a B road in the UK, which means it's main enough that it's sort of 2 lanes, it's painted, it's decent tarmac, but it's, as you can see, there's barely any cars on it. Another bridge, and the weather's really deteriorated here. We've gone from spitting, the sort of rain that you can just get on with, and I didn't even put a waterproof on, to really, I am soaked. My feet are soaked. Watch this, my dad is getting soaked trying to hold my wheel. And because neither of us were expecting rain like this, neither of us have mud guards, so my dad's got a choice now, which is to ride at my pace a long way back and get no benefit of the draft, or to sit in my draft and get absolutely soaked, which is really not the greatest choice to make, is it? It's not the greatest thing to be stuck between. I've put in quite a lot of footage here just so you can see how truly miserable the conditions were. And considering at this point we're about 100 kilometres in, it was really starting to get fairly depressing. I should say my metrics are about 30 seconds out, because the way Garmin Verb Sync works, the longer your ride, the larger the steps when you try and sync up. So it would only let me move by 1 minute either side on the sync, which is very irritating.
I've never seen waves for a decade, I don't know about you. So we made it to Bala. By all accounts, every weather forecast said that it was going to be sunny today with a small chance of showers. It's been raining basically since we got to Wales, on and off, and a headwind. Granted, I think the headwind was forecast, but not this strong. This is silly. So what was meant to be a lovely day out in lovely weather is turning into a bit of a slog, but we won't let it get us down. I don't know if the wind is really showing up. But the next challenge is up here, over these hills. It's called the Berwyn Pass. So the Berwyn hills are not in Snowdonia, but they're the biggest set of hills, North Wales outside of Snowdonia. Should be a 20-minute effort if I'm going well, which who knows.
So this is just the road out to the Berwyn Pass. I guess it's all part of the pass, but before it started going uphill. From Bala, it is a sort of main road between these two areas, and it goes over, like I say, the Berwyn Mountains, or Berwyn Mountain, Cader Berwyn is a mountain, but the rest are hills around it, slightly lower. And the pass is surprisingly long. It was a bigger climb than I realised, and also I had no idea where it started, so I kept thinking it started and putting little digs in, like this nice corner looks like it'll be the start of a climb, but it's not. It's just some continued mountain road. So I felt a bit guilty because I dropped my dad fairly early on a road as opposed to on a climb, and that's like not the done thing, is it? We go our own paces on the climbs. You hear me there say, "Here we go," and then for some reason I turned my front camera off. What an absolute tit. I don't know what I was thinking, but it means I don't have any front camera footage for the entire climb, which is a shame because it was pretty and it was different. So the climb starts with kind of two switchback corners, which are what I've just shown you there. It's really kind of atmospheric. It sets the scene for what's to come. It feels like you're about to do an epic climb when you start with these switchback bends. And it's nice for me to come back and watch the rear view footage. I find re-watching the front-facing footage relatively boring because that's what I saw already. Like, I already know, I can remember it. But the rear view footage I haven't seen, and you see all these views that you wouldn't get otherwise. So after a relatively steep start on that climb, it then becomes this kind of forest road, which is steadily 4 to 5% for, I think, 2 to 3 kilometres. It's a relatively boring bit of climb for a rider like me. It's a lot more like an uphill time trial, which suits a lot of people, but I am rubbish at, as you well know. So you can see here, it's busier than the normal sort of climbs I do. It is a fairly main road, but it wasn't by any means busy. And behind me, you can see quite how miserable the weather in Snowdonia was that we just cycled through. And it was still miserable up here on and off. It was spitting on and off. And this pass gets up to over 500 metres of elevation, which I know by Alpine standards is nothing, but by UK standards is a fairly high paved road. So yeah, it was sort of prone to changeable weather. But these views of the road spanning out behind me are really pleasant. I was pretty much head down, just smashing it, so I didn't really pay that much attention. Don't judge me for going over to the other side of the road here. It's almost a 180-degree corner, and I could see so clearly that nothing was coming. I thought I'd rather take it fast. So the very end of this climb goes over 3 kind of, well, it looks like crocodile teeth on the profile. It goes down and then it goes up a bit more, down and up a bit higher again. And in some of the Strava segments, they're not included as part of the climb. The climb's considered over before that, but I was a purist and went the whole way to the top, to the county boundary, which is at the very top of this pass. And I'm glad I did put the full effort in. It was well worth it. So now, the end of that climb, this is the top, and I, for some reason, turned my forward-facing camera on again, which is good news because the descent was exceptional, in my opinion. It had this amazing expansive quality about it. You could watch all the way down, you could see yourself kind of approaching the quarry village at the bottom. Look at like the sense of scale as you're going down there. And because this road is high quality paved, you're not worried about sheep coming out, you're not worried about massive potholes or farmer's gravel or anything. And it's never too steep. It's like -4 to -8%. So you can just cane it down there. I think I really did try and maintain sort of 60 plus kilometers an hour, or around 40 miles an hour for those who work in Imperial. And all of these corners that I'm cutting, like I say, the visibility is unbelievable. So it's really not at all scary to be cutting the odd corner here and there to maintain pace. So as we get further down, the camera's getting wet with road spray, but the weather is getting slightly better. Generally, it wasn't too bad. I wasn't absolutely freezing at the bottom, but I wasn't warm either. It was yet to get hot, and we were wet through, and I couldn't really feel my feet because I've got quite bad circulation, so when they get wet, that's kind of a write-off for the rest of the day. But coming down into this village now of Llandrillo, I don't know, where the quarry is anyway. I was thinking, I don't know why I've never ridden this road before. It is manageable from home, or definitely manageable from Rhiannon's mum's house. It's not that far at all from there. I'd really like to come back and have another go at this climb in both directions. And if you're interested, I would be up for filming it, definitely. So just let me know if you'd like to see the Berwyn Pass in full. And now, the far side of the Berwyn Pass, there's only one more climb to go on our entire ride, and that's in England, believe it or not. So we've just about crossed over the border at this point, I think, and we are now in Shropshire. Shropshire, for non-locals or non-UK watchers, is considered a border county. That's the word I'm trying to say. Jeez. So it's got a lot of Welsh history, even though it is in England. It changed hands a lot, and it's got this really nice quality of sort of rolling hills. There are decent sized hills in there, but there's no mountains, there's nothing severe, but you still get the odd berg, and lots of the roads are quite rolling, it's not flat. So we've just made a right turn there, and we're about to hit what I would describe as a berg. I don't even know the name of the climb. I just took a back road to get us off the main road for a little while, and it really does go up. It's sort of an average of 10% for around 2 kilometers, I think, which my dad and I said we might need to reevaluate, because when we do the big ride, this is kind of the roads we're scoping out for our next ride, and we're intending to be a lot more tired by this point. That's all I'll say. I know I'm a man of mystery. This isn't Ed Laverak's channel. I'm not saying make yourself public goals and encourage yourself to stick to them. I'm a man who never wants to commit to anything publicly, because then if I fail, no one needs to know that I've ever failed. That's my mantra, and that's why I'm not a very good cyclist. So yeah, we may or may not revisit this road when we come this way again in a couple of weeks, but it was fantastic. It was a proper, surprise gem of the ride doing this climb, because as you come up ahead, well, you can see that the sun's come out now, so it's really glorious. And on this hairpin, the view behind me over the England-Wales borderlands were fantastic. The rear view camera is not quite high enough, maybe it is high enough to get the view behind me. But we were just, having a great time exploring roads we've not explored before. I think the joy of doing these rides, and of me and my dad doing them together, is that we get to see all these things we otherwise wouldn't have seen and we're not used to. So seeing something new and going, look at that, and we get to reminisce about it later is fantastic. It's really my favourite bit about doing these. I made a terrible joke here, by the way, because we were talking about what a great view it was. And this house, this mansion, is called Fairview. So I was like, oh, it's only a Fairview. So there's me making the dad jokes. And now we roll down into Oswestry. Oswestry is a market town. It's a pretty place. I've never been before. But it's also called Oswestry, I think, in Welsh. So it is in England. We are in England, but it's got a Welsh name because for a lot of its history, it was in Wales. And it has one wall called the Welsh Wall and one wall called the English Wall. Of the historic medieval town, because obviously those are the countries that it bordered. And this is us riding through a churchyard in order to go to a cafe, because we saw a sign that made a cafe look nice, and it did not disappoint. I'm sure I'll tell you all about it in a sec. Our fortunes have turned a little bit. Sun's out, now we're in England. Stopped in Oswestry, this place called the Old Schoolhouse. It looks lovely. The menu is excellent, so we got some food on its way. Coffee's brilliant. It was from a local coffee roaster. The sign outside said, I'll mention it later. And obviously in these church grounds, so very
quaint. I think we're feeling pretty good. We've done all of the hills now, pretty much. It's just flat home through England, and hopefully with a howling tailwind. We'll see. So, stats on the Garmin at the stop. Oh, that contrast rubbish, but 150k, 27 kilometers an hour average, and we've done 2,200 meters of elevation. So not bad at all. How are you feeling?
Good.
Ooh.
Better than I've felt in ages for a big ride.
Excellent. So, yeah, we'll get the food in us and then onwards. I was going to say onwards and upwards, but I think it's all downhill home.
Oh, onwards and downhill.
Oh, onwards and downhill with the tailwind, fingers crossed.
I'll never be a food vlogger because I was too busy eating to film and review it, but it was an excellent lunch. My dad likened it to a time we stopped at Dea in Mallorca. It was meant to be a perfunctory cafe stop and ended up being one of the best meals we've had together, I think. Scenery wasn't quite as good, but it was a great meal. So this is Oswestry, just leaving now. Like I say, it was a nicer town than I expected. It had all the hallmarks of a British high street, with like pound stretchers and takeaways and gambling shops, but also lots of really nice places as well, so it's quite nice to see. And then we go through Shropshire and you see lots of little things like this. It's quite quaint in places, seeing these castles and traditional pubs and stuff. It was pretty fun. And then a lot of it is main roads, because that's what we wanted, pretty much. We wanted to do fairly fast, fairly direct roads. And as I alluded to earlier, Shropshire has this characteristic rolling terrain. It's never steep, but it's never properly flat either. It's kind of -2 to +2%, just bobbling along. What we did have going for us at this point was a howling tailwind. Now you saw the footage in Bala. The wind wasn't quite as strong here, but it was behind us and it was pushing us along, and we really did benefit from it. I'd rather have a headwind in the mountains and a tailwind back along the flat part, personally. I think you really feel the advantage on the flats, whereas in the mountains you're already going slow and you get a bit of shielding and so on. So once you get into the countryside in Shropshire and Cheshire, the terrain gets a bit dull.
It is raining.
But here we've popped back into Wales for a little bit, to a town called Bangor-on-Dee. And this is the River Dee again, and another amazing bridge. It wasn't on our route actually, we were meant to turn right, and I said, turn left, I want to go over that bridge, even if it is cobbled. So we went over it, turned around and went back over it. Cobbles rattled my bike, but look at that, time for a picture. It's a lovely bridge, I was very happy. That title's a pun on the reality TV show The Real Housewives of Cheshire. We'll do this segment on the Nick Brownbill Cycles Round Places show called This is Cheshire. This is Cheshire. Are you bored yet? I'm bored. This is Cheshire. Are you bored yet? I'm bored. It's all just high hedges and rubbish roads. This is Cheshire. It's a town. That's probably the most interesting thing we've seen in Cheshire. Oh yeah, that house is okay, I guess. So perhaps I'm being a bit cruel, but I just don't think there's much worth filming here, although I ride here a lot. Even this bridge is boring. This is Cheshire, and this is Cheshire, and this is Cheshire. Feel like it all looks the same? I feel like it all looks the same. This pub on the right used to be good, but then it was a Green King pub. And once again, this is Cheshire. This is also Cheshire. Granted, it's our own fault for picking the horrible main road here. This is just off the motorway. Just stopped at the bottom of what we call the Greenway. I think it's got an official name. Is it maybe Chester Millennium Cycleway or something?
Something like that.
But yeah, we're 210 kilometres in. This is very much home turf now. It's just a straight shot up the Wirral, back to home. I think we're both feeling pretty good. Plenty of fuel. Come on. You're feeling good, aren't you, Dad?
I am, yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Might even make it home.
Yeah. Dad'll make it home. The wind's helped on the way back. Our average speed has gone up. So mine, oh, you can't really see because of the sun, but mine's 28.4 kilometres an hour, so that's pretty good for 210k. Yeah, 30k and home, then nice hot bath, and Rhiannon says she wants a curry for dinner, so I'm happy.
Okay, so technically this is still Cheshire, but this is a bit of road we call the missing link. It's just through a farmyard, but it links up two roads that otherwise wouldn't be linked up, and okay, it is gravel, but it's great. Now we hit the pub on the right, the Thatch, oldest pub on Wirral. And we're getting very much to my home turf now, by the way. It's not very interesting, but I wanted you to see that pub because it's great. And finally, this is the climb that tormented me as a child. It's a very small hill into the town that I grew up in, where my parents live. And I thought, 240 kilometres in, let's go full gas and see what I can do up here. Unfortunately, my metrics are out, but I did kind of 650 watts all the way up. I say all the way up as if it's not like a 30-second 4% hill. It's really nothing, but I just wanted to see what beans I had left. And I was dead at the end of this. But it's actually my only Strava Cup of the day. This effort got me 5th on the leaderboard, so buzzing that I could do that at the end of such a hard ride.
I hope it's not inappropriate to do a post-ride review from the bath. I'm very well covered by bubbles, so it's not like seedy. It's just part of my routine to get straight in the bath post-ride. I've had some food, but I'll have dinner after this. My voice is hoarse. I think it's just because it's been so windy all day. I've been chatting to my dad, but obviously chatting on the bike when you're like 2 up TT is shouting loud all day. So yeah, I'm starting to lose my voice because of it. But it was a great day out. It was nice that the sun came out from sort of Oswestry onwards. I'm tired, but I feel great actually. You know, for doing 250k or thereabouts, not quite 250k. I feel really good. It's really reassuring that my knee never hurt too much and my legs don't feel especially tired. In hindsight, I keep thinking, I should have gone for more of the hills because I did most of them really steady. I only went for one. Could have gone for 2 or 3, or I could have gone harder on that one. I couldn't actually. I was a bit crap on it, but yeah, it was a great day out. It was. There's loads to whinge about with how rainy and windy it was at the beginning, and I love an excuse to whinge, so that was good. And then it was nice, fast roads home with the wind behind us, and even a couple of good bridges. So yeah, that was great. I'm gonna go back to focusing on my bath and drinking my non-alcoholic beer in it as a recovery.
Hi guys, this is the final wrap up for the big ride in Wales and England that my dad and I did the other day. Legs have recovered now. I've been out for another ride today, and legs felt good actually. I really enjoyed how I was feeling. Hay fever is anything, so I do apologise. Here you go. This is the summary for our little recce ride. It was 246 kilometres in 8 hours 33. For the whole time I was pedalling, I was trying to do sort of 200 to 230 watts. That's just sitting on the front the whole time, on the flats, give my dad a draft, and on the hills, just we go at whatever pace he's comfortable with. It was hilly, but not mega hilly. Next time we do a big ride, it's going to be significantly hillier than that, so that's always good to remember. And some nice photos from the day. That's the loop in its entirety. You can see the Berwyn Pass here. Really stands out as the big hill of the day. And see just how flat that tail end through Cheshire is. So yeah, it was a great day out actually. We had a really nice time. I managed to not get sunburned despite the rain washing all my sun cream off, and then the sun being out for about 5 hours, which is good. And all feeling good for the next big one that's hopefully coming up. But I won't say any more about that for now. I'll just say thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.